Angela Skudin, welcome and really thank you for joining me today. And I am going to start by asking you why it is that you're here. But before you leap into that, one of the things that I do want to ask you is where in the world are you? Because I know you and I are coming from completely different continents. So why don't you start by telling me where you are, so I get a sense where we get a sense of where you are in the world first up.
So I'm coming from coming to you from Rockville Center, New York. It's just north of my hometown of Long Beach, New York, and just east of New York City.
Wow, I love New York. I went for the first time. I can't believe it was this late in my life, but I think I was 47 at the time before I first made it to New York. And I got to tell you, I did not want to come home. I was like, oh my God, I love this city. So this has got to be. I tried to convince my kids, but they were obviously, as teenagers, not terribly interested. So I figured at some stage in my next phase of life, I'll be coming over.
Well, now when you come back, I'll be your tour guide for you.
Oh,
And
fabulous.
I've never been to Australia myself, so it's definitely on the list, I think.
Great. Well, I'm in Bondi at the moment, which is where most people like to come when they come to Australia. So I'm more than happy to be your guide in return. So,
Perfect.
Angela, can you please share with us about your, why are you here? What is this mission that you're currently, and what are you up to in the world?
So I'm here to save the savers, essentially. I have founded the Casey Skudin 343 Fund in the honor of my husband, who was a member of the FDNY. He passed away tragically just over 2 years ago. The anniversary of his death was June 17th, so just 2 days ago, and today would have been his birthday.
Mm.
So it feels it feels kismet to be having this conversation with you right now. What I've done is I've started a fund for first responders to access alternative healing modalities. And we send people that are suffering from treatment resistant depression, traumatic brain injuries, alcoholism, substance abuse, you name it. And we service the first responder population, and what that is defined by our organization is police officers, EMTs, and firefighters. And they have to be career first responders, and they have to have worked as a career first responder for a minimum of 5 years to be able to qualify for one of our grants.
Mm-hmm. Well, look, firstly, my deepest condolences. I certainly am, I'm very sorry for, what's happened. And I noticed that even in that, I think one of the things that is often challenging for anyone is often not knowing what is the best way to respond, But thank you, firstly, for being here, especially on, his anniversary and birthday. And, I'm, I personally have not been in your shoes. And so I have no idea what it's like to walk in your shoes. And I can't even fathom, to be quite frank, right, what it's like for you. And I'm really here to listen and to hear what it is that you're up to and what you've navigated, and what has what we can do to amplify this message out in the world. And happy birthday. I don't know if you will ever be the kind of person who celebrates his birthday, but if that's not the case, I will celebrate for you. Happy birthday for your husband. So thank you for being here.
Well, thank you. And yeah, I'm the type of person that celebrates. So my husband was a great life, and he helped me on my healing journey, which was the motivation for me to use his life. I funded the fund with his life insurance policy upon his death. He died on June 17th, 2022 at 3:43 p.m. when we were on a family vacation together. A tree fell from the sky and landed on this minivan we had rented, and our 2 children were inside, and Casey was the driver, and I was in the passenger seat. So that was where the name kind of came from was that 343, which was the time of death, which was how many firefighters, New York City firefighters, died during 9/11. Um, which is, I think, if you think of 9/11, you think of New York City firefighters. So
Yes.
uh, it's actually been so transitional to through this organization and through my own healing. I actually now am helping retired New York City firefighters that were present at 9/11, and they're healing from those traumas.
Mm.
So when this tree fell on my husband, I was the only one that didn't get knocked out. And I don't know how I'm still sitting here and having this conversation with you today. And if you um, saw the vehicle, you would ask yourself the same thing. And my children were spared, and I was
Mm.
spared. And
Mm.
it was just pretty immediate after knowing that I was going to be paying this forward. My husband had saved so many people's lives, and his life being prematurely taken just couldn't end for me there. So,
Mm.
in his spirit, I took his life insurance policy, and so far to date, we have sent. I think we've sent spent $375,000 in direct and grants for access to psychedelic therapies for first responders,
Mm-hmm.
and then $60,000 in grants for equipment for firehouses, for alternative healing modalities. And what that equipment includes is the first piece of equipment we did was a HBOT at Lahaina Firehouse. Um, we got that there right away through one of our board members who was actually present, Tina Bayard, over on Oahu. She went right over to Maui. She's an Army, she was an Army trauma nurse, and she's an MP now. So she's just really heavily involved in HBOT therapy, and knew that that was a modality that they needed immediately for lung recovery. And then we made it our mission to make sure that that equipment stayed in that firehouse to help them with their lung recovery. And having gone through, having a husband that was a member of a department like the FDNY, the FDNY has gone through these tragedies before, like such as 9/11, that have um, really, we've seen the effects of the lung issues on that. So there was actually a study done at Ground Zero where they gave infrared saunas post 9/11, and firefighters were accessing these and using them on site there at a church, I believe. And that study actually showed that those first responders that sat in that infrared sauna did better, and that's from a health perspective, than the ones that didn't. And that's one of the modalities that we've been getting into firehouses as well. We've put infrared saunas and cold plunges and the elite units of the FDNY and a few of the FDNY rescue houses, and I believe one or two of the squads.
Right.
So that is just the, hey, knock on the door, that. And we also teach contrast therapy with that, and that's the knock on the door to the self-care, that, hey, you just did a hard job, here's something for you to not only decompress and regulate your central nervous system, but here's a good stressor for your body. That's not the fire, or
Mm.
not um the accident. This is the stressor that's going to be good biologically for your body's return in its healing, and it's going to kind of negate those other um, toxins that you've taken in during your time there. And it's things that the department can't afford to give to these people. So we as an organization see the need to fill this gap for these first responders. And then, of course, when we take it a step beyond that, we have the realization that these men and women are taking care of us and maybe not taking care of themselves. And then you've got people that are um, taking home what's happened at the scene. And I saw that firsthand through the accident that we had. Every first responder at that scene took that scene home with them. And I took it home from a different perspective, but their lens was greater than mine because I didn't have to see my husband after they pulled the tree off of him. And they all knew they were working on a New York City firefighter. And it just becomes this family immediately, this unity of, oh, you're a firefighter's wife, you're a firefighter's family, and we're going to take care of you. We're going to take care of your family. And that's exactly what the Asheville, North Carolina Fire Department did for me and my family. They held my hand through the whole thing. And through that experience, I realized I am a fortunate woman to have been a member of the first responder community, because anybody else that was in just a regular citizen that was involved in that accident would have had a lot to work out that I did not have to work out because of the bond from first responders. So
Yeah, I'm just, can I ask you, curious, you said there that it was very different for you in terms of how, like, it's almost like it sounds like you were, or your response was very different in terms of their response. Can you shed a little bit of light on that? Like, why was?
yeah, so my response was not, I wasn't saving or attempting to save a person. There was
Mm,
no, I left the scene with our youngest son. So, I was helpless when I crawled out of the window, when the windshield, and I went over to the side of the vehicle to be with my husband, while he was dying. And with the full knowledge that the capacity of what had just happened, they're not going to be able, they needed a crane, to get at this tree. And it was, and they just had a chainsaw, and I could just see those with my own eyes, those things going on. And I couldn't even see my husband's full body. The tree was keeping me from actually, seeing his face, which I was super grateful for. And it kept our children from seeing him as well. But those first responders were going to see it all. They're going to
mm,
pull that tree off, and they're going to be attempting the resuscitation that's not going to work. And they're going to ultimately know that they know me now. They saw me at the scene. They saw our boys at the scene. They
mm,
saw his placard in the window, the New York City
mm,
fire department placard, or certainly in his wallet. So all of that is just like, one of their guys died, and then they go home with that.
mm,
I actually still get text messages from the guys, some of the guys that were at the scene, that just say,
mm,
"I just want you to know that we haven't forgotten about you."
mm,
And
mm,
they don't forget about anything. They compartmentalize everything. They normalize these scenes. My scene is just one of, you know,
mm,
millions of,
mm,
you know, but I think we can all agree. I mean, if I had a friend tell me they saw a dead body just on the side of the road. They just drove by and they'd seen a dead body on the side of the road. Um, and, and they said, they were just describing about how terrible it was to see that. And I just thought to myself, you know, that's just imprints on us as humans. But just imagine, like, not just seeing it, you're seeing it, you're getting, who this person is most likely by the time your job is done, and you're seeing the family from that, a lot of the times, from that person, and sometimes being the first person that notifies them that they've lost somebody. And it's just, you
mm.
can't not take that home. I mean, this is not
No.
a robotic position, but it's treated like a robotic position.
Yeah,
And
that's, yeah. I mean, you can't. It's. I want to ask you actually about how you ended up getting to the psychedelic link, because uh, you know, I don't want to make any assumptions at all, because our guests may have no understanding. And I had was very fortunate to have Trevor Miller and Jonathan Dickinson on recently, and to talk about it. And because at the time, Angela, I'd heard a lot about psychedelics. I personally haven't had the experience of it, and I'm one to always make sure that you ask the experts and get qualified information before you make any assumptions, right? So I had them on the show to talk about that. And of course, for my listeners, if you haven't listened to it, please go and do that. But Angela, you're spot on. You cannot unsee something. And I think that has an impact beyond what we can ever anticipate as a human being. Like, you can never know the reality of what that's like for a human being, because we all have a very different experience of that. So how did you go from that to the recommendation of psychedelics?
Yeah. Well, first of all, Trevor and Jonathan, I love those guys down at Ambio in Tijuana. We write a lot of grants for their organization. And the way that I got to meet them was through the psychedelic world. I had started a psychedelic journey in 2020. I had a bout with Lyme disease that began probably when I was 11 years old, that came roaring to a head in 2018. And I just started being misdiagnosed, and I ended up bedridden and covered in sores, and just lost 7 teeth, had my breast implants removed, and really exhausted anything Western medicine could offer me.
Right.
And then couldn't afford the medication, period. It just got to a point where we ran out of benefits, and which I didn't know could happen, but it did for us. And I finally got a diagnosis of Lyme disease, Babesia, Bartonella, relapsing fever, Borrelia, Mould Toxicity, and Morgellons disease.
Jesus Christ. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
like just
Holy
like this
shit. You just opened up. How many cans of worms did you bring with you into this conversation? Oh my God.
Yeah. So that road that no one could really figure out. They were like, all the doctors that I went to, I stopped going to Western medicine doctors because they didn't have anything else for me. And I was going to go to Germany. Actually, my choices were psychedelics and bee venom therapy, which is just stinging yourself with bees,
Wow.
or going to Germany. And I believe it was $80,000. And then they would put me under, give me a fever, my body a fever of like 107 degrees, 107.5. I could be wrong on that, but it was something super hot. And then the hope they kill the bacteria, and then that they don't kill you. So I didn't have like great choices, so that's how I got to psychedelics. So most people listening might be like, oh, that's crazy to use psychedelics for your healing, but it's not crazy when your healing options are crazy. So I had these crazy healing options, and really, I was on TikTok, basically. I saw this girl on TikTok, and she was doing bee venom therapy, because I was looking anywhere to heal, just ordering books. I couldn't really read because my vision was messed up from what was going on. I had brain inflammation, a heart condition, endometriosis was suspected, but I was too weak for them to go in. And so they were just, giving me these injections. I had a PICC line in my arm, and I was getting IV antibiotics 5 days a week. I was doing HBOT treatments and acupuncture, and just all sorts of different supplement protocols, and just antibiotic protocols, just like rip my gut apart. And then I just like watched this documentary, the Heal documentary on Netflix. And
yes.
yeah, and a lot of people that I talk to when they say, "Oh, how did you heal?" I watched every show on Netflix. I think I watched every crime documentary and every like ghost hunter show. And I wallowed in sorrow for I don't even know how long, but months, and about woe was me. And I watched this documentary, and I hear Joe Dispenza tell his story, and I don't know who he is at the time. I don't even know what meditation is. I've never meditated, and I said to myself, "Oh, my ego said, oh, if this fool can do it, so can I." So,
I love it. Yeah.
not Joe Dispenza's not a fool at all.
Yeah.
The point is that we're all in these human bodies, and I was actually recently on the Ambio podcast down there with them. And I was talking about an octopus. Everybody's so amazed by these octopus, right? Octopi,
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. They live 18 months, and they are so intelligent, and they can regrow and all these. And I mean, like, kind of same. We don't have tentacles and stuff, but I don't think the human body is given the appreciation or the consideration that it has to heal itself, and how
Mm,
quickly the human body does heal itself. So there's a real
mm,
opportunity if you change for results that do take longer than 30 days. And
mm.
that's, I think, what we got stuck in over, as at least in the United States. I want to walk into a doctor's office, at least I used to, when I used to go to doctors, and I used to say, give me the prescription. And
Mm,
how many days am I taking this for? And I'm telling better. And I got to the point in my healing where that wasn't working. There wasn't a number of days. There was just all these prescriptions, and there was no end. So I became this major burden on my family, right? I couldn't work. I'm bedridden. I got all these sores all over my body. My brain is inflamed, so I'm just a total mess. Can't even remember anything. I'm swelling from head to toe, but I can't keep food down, and in either end. And this is just going on for months. I'm just surviving like this. So
how old were your kids at the time? Did you?
at the time, let's see, 2018. I'm so bad at math. My boys right now are 21 and
Wow.
12.
21
So
and 12 now.
21 and 12, same birthday, 9 years apart.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So at the time of the accident, they were 10 and 19. And then I believe when I first got sick, I want to say my youngest was 6.
Mm,
And he actually had Lyme disease too. And I diagnosed him because I knew what he was talking about when he was describing his joint pain. When people are describing the pain from Lyme disease, it's specific. And if you have
mm,
Lyme disease, you will understand the pain. So through my pain, I was actually able to free my child. Now, he was able to get rid of it much quicker. He didn't have all the co-infections or anything that I had, but he had the mold toxicity, which we found out is something that can be genetically tested for now. And then, of course, mold tests can be you can actually do online mold tests in the States. In certain states, you can do it, but so there's weird rule state to state. So
mm.
I used a testing company called Great Plains Labs, and I did a mycotoxin test panel for that. So it's something people can do without a doctor if they suspect that they have mold toxicity. And if you Google mold toxicity symptoms, you're going to get this array of things that could mask as other things. So
Right.
if you got mold in the way of your healing, you're not gonna heal. And
Mm,
that's what was going on with me. So I'm in this position, and it takes me a year to sting myself with bees. I can't sting myself. I can't wrap my head around doing that as quickly as I can wrap my head around doing psychedelics.
mm,
So
mm.
I start meditating. I get this book. It says how to meditate, and I open it up. In the first page, I don't remember what it says. I wish I could find that book, because I remember being so frustrated by this book and just trying to quiet my mind, period. My mind had never been quiet. So I'm just suffering or making myself suffer with this
Mm.
forced meditation. And the book's not even how you meditate. I remember going back and looking at it, reading it after I kind of got a meditation practice. I'm like, this is absolutely not how you meditate. So,
Oh.
now if you ask me to meditate, I can meditate
Mm,
right away. I can just drop
mm,
right in. But
mm,
it's a practice. They call it a meditation practice, and quieting your mind is a practice. And
mm.
psychedelics is a tremendous accelerator to propelling your mind, or encouraging your mind, I should say, to stop,
Mm,
which is where so much peace occurs. So
mm,
I start this meditation practice, and I start yoga because I can't do CrossFit anymore. My husband was huge athlete, a triathlete, and rode his bicycle every day to work or whenever he had his commute, and was a CrossFit coach, and just the 20-year-olds at the gym were trying to catch him, and he was just always impressive. So um, he we had that in common together where we really enjoyed working out, and then I couldn't work out, and all I could do was yoga. And I hated it. Oh my God, I hate it.
Mm, mm.
So I start January 1st, 2020, get a Groupon or whatever to a local yoga studio, and I just go in there and I just can't do anything else. I've got a PICC line in my arm and I just say, you know what? I'm out of ideas. I watched that documentary. I don't know. These people might be onto something. So I started yoga practice, and all of a sudden I don't need back surgery anymore. And then I don't need this hip surgery anymore. And then I start meditating, and I started doing combo because one of the guys, I think, one of the guys at the yoga studio, this hippie dude sat with medicine in Peru and found combo, and he brought it back, and he's
What's
25.
combo?
Oh yeah. Let's tell you guys what combo is.
Yeah.
Sorry. In my world, I forget that
Yeah.
it's common practice for me. So combo is, it's a secretion from a stress response, if you will, from the giant green monkey frog that resides in the Amazon. So I've never seen it happen, but the story is that shamans will call these frogs down, and they come willingly, and they are tied, their feet. I guess it would all be feet, right? Frogs don't have hands. But the frog feet are all tied. They're tied and
Right.
then stretched, and then that creates a stress response. And they scrape off the secretion. They put it on these sticks, wrap them up in plantain leaves, and send them dry them on the sticks, and then that medicine on that stick becomes ready, available for the use of a practitioner. And what the practitioner does is burns some holes with a little root. I probably have some combo holes. You wouldn't be able to see them because they've healed up, but they're just little round dots that are either on your arm traditionally, and men are served either on their arm, their neck, their chest, areas like that. And the tribes traditionally, to my understanding, serve women on their ankle. And it's just these really small dots that just burn the first layer of skin. I've been on combo journeys where that's the most uncomfortable part, is just that burning. And then you spit on the stick, and you take like a knife. Sorry, I'm trying to show you, do
Yeah.
it for you. And
Yeah.
you just like do this, and it makes this like paste on the stick, and you take it off, and you apply it on those dots. And all of this sounds so wild, I'm sure, to anybody who's
I'm
never
thinking it's pretty wild. Like, I mean, what does it
wild.
what does it
Yeah.
do? What is it meant
Yeah.
to do?
So what it does, when I started using it, I couldn't eat a lot of food. I was allergic, if you will, or had these intolerances to all these foods, and I was just had mast cell activation. I was just a mess. My eyes were just swollen all the time, and I had just mold and fungus in my body, and residing pretty heavily. And if mold sits in your body, it's gonna give you cancer. So it was super important for me that I get this out, and that's what combo seems to do. It's been shown in
Right.
studies to kill cancer cells. So there's studies out there on it, and yeah, it's not a pleasant journey though.
Hmm.
So I say I do. I mean, I tell these stories, and I am doing all these wild things, but I was gonna die. It was either I'm gonna figure out a way out of this, or because no one's coming for me,
Mm,
and
mm.
I refuse to have a dead end road here, and I refuse to be locked onto a pharmaceutical that's giving me terrible side effects for the rest of my life, and that this is my journey. And I refuse
Mm,
to ingest a pill to put myself to bed, or ingest a pill to put myself to work.
mm,
So if I wanted to free myself from that, this was the road. So I started working with this combo stuff, and what it does is it works to kind of like, I'm going to say it works almost, it's an intelligent medicine, almost like an inner cannabinoid system, where it kind of goes in your body where it needs to go. So that
mhm,
said, it'll sometimes, I've seen so many combo journeys at this point, and I've done so many myself, that it's different every time. Sometimes the face will swell. You'll feel this like warming sensation coming up, almost like through your chakras almost, and you'll feel it come into your head and kind of settles in, settles down, starts coming down. You could get taste in your mouth, swelling, numbness, um, anxiety feelings can come through. Um, I've gotten rashes all over my body, um, just itching, just head to toe itching, eyes itching. My eyes have turned really red, really nauseous, a lot of vomiting. Um,
God,
and
Angela, sounds awful. I mean,
yeah, it's awful.
gosh.
Sweating, like, so that goes on for like, 20 minutes. I'd say 10, 20 minutes. And while this is going on, there's like, um, your practitioner should be helping you hold space in the background for you to be having these releases. So you're not doing this on your own.
Mm,
I mean, I do this on my own, but it's just because I've journeyed with this medicine so much. But I would not recommend doing it on your own. And this is legal in the States.
mhm,
So I'm not sure about Australia, but it's a beautiful medicine. There's some times where I just cry. I used this medicine right after my husband passed away. I didn't want to use, Xanax or anything like that,
mm,
to calm myself down. But I knew, having gone through what I went through, that I needed to clear energy. My body was shaking, much like a wild animal, or wild animal, not to be a wild animal, just an animal would,
mhm, mhm, mhm.
it's kind of, you when it goes through something scary, say a predator's hunting it, and it it doesn't catch it. That animal, after that predator goes away, is going to start involuntarily shaking to shake
Mm,
that off. So we are animals as well, and we have the same kind of reactions as well with our nervous system. So yeah, so I kind of used combo for that, for my nervous system resets, for my healing and my Lyme disease. It started with my Lyme healing. I started working with combo first, and then I transitioned to bee venom therapy, where I ordered bees. I had 2 little beehives in my house, just little boxes. I learned on TikTok how to do this.
you are
And
brave.
yeah, I was miserable. I don't know if I was
Mm,
brave, but I was miserable, and
mm,
just had I refused
mm,
to be miserable. So I was married to this man, and he just wanted me back so bad. And I told him, if you trust me, if you let me, if you let me lead my healing journey, I will come back to you. And
mm,
he said, I trust you. And I came back to him.
mm,
So when I came back to him, he passed away uh, not long after I had healed. And aside from doing the combo and the bee venom was 10 stings. I would do 10 stings on my spine every third day, and then a large detox protocol along with that. I ended up kind of plateauing on my results. The whole time I'm doing this, by the way, I'm under a doctor's care,
right.
just so people know, not to
Yeah, I was
overdo.
just about to ask you that. I was like, oh God, how frightening trying to do that without
Yeah,
any support. Like, so.
yeah. So I'm under a doctor's care, but I'm not telling him what I'm doing.
Mm,
So
mhm,
I'm but I'm doing all my blood tests. I need my blood paperwork, or I need
mm,
all my blood work done so that I can monitor, you know, what my WebMD degree had told me I should be monitoring. So he was
Mm,
also monitoring my levels as well during
mm,
this whole process. And then at the end, when I healed, I told him the truth.
mhm.
And his response was, hold on a second. And I thought I was going to be in big trouble. And he got a pen and he said, tell me everything you did. And so now I refer everybody to him
Mm,
because
mm,
I think that's a great doctor. I've been in doctor's offices that don't want to know what I did. And I haven't been sick in 4 years, not a cold, nothing. My child
mm,
hasn't gotten sick, not a cold, nothing.
mm,
And I, but when I go to my son's doctor, he doesn't ask me what I'm doing. I'm like, oh, hey, we don't, we haven't, long time no see. And it's so telling to me that he just wants to lecture me on, well,
mm,
you shouldn't give your kid, some of those supplements aren't good, and he'll go into B12. And I'm like, okay, I know how that
mm,
taking B12 isn't going to process that in my system, but I'm not that ignorant to supplements. But it's
mm.
almost like let me just start shaming whatever you're doing that's working and not writing it down.
Yeah.
So I have lost a lot of respect for the bad doctors, and I've gained a lot of respect for the good doctors out there, and they're out there.
Mm,
And God bless them all, because the bad ones sure make it difficult to navigate a
mm,
road through, and
mm,
it shouldn't be like that, period. So, and part of that, the bee venom, I was doing 10 stings. I did that for 10 months, every 3 days. And then I was learning that I had just too heavy of a detox protocol. So my helping my body detox wasn't helping my body.
mm,
So
mm,
no pain, no gain. So I
mhm.
hired this bee venom scientist from Connecticut, and he came down and he taught me everything from ancient Egypt on that he knew about bee venom therapy. And he was just a bee venom nerd, and he had used bee venom by stinging on his meridian points to completely manage his rheumatoid arthritis and stay active his whole life. And I said, do people call you after you help them and tell you that they're healed or that they don't have symptoms anymore? And he said, I call in and check on people, and I'll say, hey, how you doing? And they'll say, great, I don't have any symptoms anymore. And I'll say, okay, awesome. um when did that happen? They'll say, oh, I don't know. And they just don't talk about their healing. They don't talk about that. Hey, I had to sting myself with bees, to get to write this. And I'm one of those people. I think it's crazy that I had to do that. So
Mm,
I talk about it. So he and I are, he's bringing this help to me, and he tells me, I'm not a doctor, I'm just a scientist. And he starts teaching me about these meridian points. And he tells me, I've got really bad news for you. And I said, what? And he said, you're not stinging yourself with nearly enough bees to do anything for your body. You're not going to
wow.
make it. And I said, what do you mean? Like 10's a lot, And he says, you need to double it every time.
Oh,
And I just thought, oh, shit. I'm sorry. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that. I think
yeah, yeah, all good.
I'm just like, I don't really want to do that.
Mm,
So,
mm.
but I think, you know what? I say, how long do I have to do this for? And he says, no one ever knows. And I say, that's a great answer. So I just say, you know what? F it. Like,
Fuck it.
let's just
You
go.
want
Yeah.
permission? There you go. Fuck it. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Fuck it. Fuck it.
Like, let's go.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I work it where I'm going to do it every 4 days, and I'm
Mm,
doing no detox with it. I'm just going to ride through this venom. So I end up doing anywhere from 19 to 26 stings every 4 days. And I do that for 5 months. And I go on a trip to Costa Rica, and I come back and I say, you know what? I say, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to sting myself with bees anymore. And with bee venom therapy, you kind of have to just stop doing it and then see where you're at, because your body is regenerating during this process, and you just don't know if you're still stinging. You're still getting these responses, these immune responses. So I stop and I go, and I think I'm doing better. I feel like I'm doing
mhm.
better than I have been. And then I decide I need to do an ayahuasca journey. So I stop bee venom and I start preparing for ayahuasca. And I don't, people that haven't sat with ayahuasca, which is probably a large percentage of the population, ayahuasca is a psychedelic that has a very intense protocol in order to enter into the medicine, in my opinion. So it's just a kind of a withholding of all sorts of things. You want to withhold from sexual energy, different food energies. You stick to a plant-based diet during this, very bland diet. Even salt is taken out of the diet during this dieta for ayahuasca. And then and if you don't do the preparation, in my opinion, you can set yourself up for a really dark journey. You can just having to be dealing with things that you don't need to be dealing with. So I do my own like background check on what I need to do. I just hear some people are doing ayahuasca, and I sign up to do it, and it's just going to be like on this mountain in New Jersey or in New York. I don't know, on the cusp over there, with like some dude named Jason serving ayahuasca. I have no idea about where it's coming from or anything. And with about 30 other people. And it was just it was so mismanaged. There was no integration. It was so disorganized. And I had just one of the most intense psychedelic experiences I've ever had in my life on that mountain with ayahuasca. And it was a foretelling, if you will, of my husband's death. It was an integration of his death, and it showed me during that journey. I was closer to my husband. Sorry.
It's okay.
It showed me that the physical body means nothing. It's just nothing. And I was closer to my husband during that ayahuasca journey, and his body wasn't even physically present with me. He was in a firehouse in Queens, New York, and I was, on a mountain in either New York or New Jersey. I have no clue. But so when he died, and it was so shocking, his death was just so shocking. And in fact, our youngest said, "I didn't know Dad could die till he died." And I just thought, wow, that's so heavy. That gets taken from a 10-year-old boy. And but when his physical body was taken from me, I knew what existed past his physical body because I'd sat with it before.
That's
So
remarkable.
yeah, so I didn't crumble. I crumbled more over our dog pre-ayahuasca than I did with my husband's death post-ayahuasca. Now I have to include this. Before I sat with ayahuasca, I sat with iboga 2 times. And if you don't know what ayahuasca is and you don't know what combo is, probably won't know what iboga is. But there's something right now that's all the rage, and that's called ibogaine, and it's gotten a lot of press, and there's been a lot of studies on this compound, and it's shown, to heal TBIs. So it's really powerful stuff, and it's known as the most powerful psychedelic on the planet. And I sat with this medicine 2 times with living room iboga journeys, which is so stupid. And I knew nothing about it at the time, and and I could have killed myself, to be honest with you, which is another reason why the Casey Skudin 343 Fund exists, because people are desperate to heal. And as part of that desperation, they're doing things like living room psychedelics with no supportive therapy, with no doctor, with no integration. And they're either turning out like this or, they're turning out with a bigger pile of shit than they walked in the room with, So It's not something that's just like, I tell people all the time, if psychedelics healed you, how many people would be healed by the time they got out of college?
Mm,
You
mm,
know,
mm,
I would have been, you know?
yeah.
But psychedelics don't heal you. Psychedelics, I believe, give your body the invitation to heal.
Mhm.
And that's what these compounds do, which I believe are the same. They've done placebos with people taking sugar pills and people taking, whatever medication. And, just the placebo, that intention of I'm doing something that's doing this for my body gives people that effect sometimes. So psychedelics definitely fall into that category as well. But what psychedelics do that we can't do here is is the same thing that meditation can do, and that's you access your subconscious mind.
Mm,
So in accessing your subconscious mind, which people don't like to do because that's not where the ego resides, so it's very scary to go sit in your subconscious mind because it means you're going to be giving up control over your thoughts, right? Well, that sounds scary, but it's a practice, and I explain to people all the time when we come here. um, we are immediately born, and then we're learning, right? We're learning. And what does learning do? Learning strengthens our mind. So where does our ego reside? In our mind. That's awesome. We're rewarded, top in the class. Like, this is good. So we live in a society that's ego-based reward system that rewards the mind for that's how we measure everything.
mm,
So what happens is a lot of the times no one's over here meditating, we're reading, we're learning, we're processing. And then the meditation factor, it's not taught in school. Why? I don't know. It needs to
mm,
be.
mm,
But
mm,
what happens is you start doing things like meditation, psychedelics, yoga, breath work, hypnotherapy, these things that are going to allow you to access your subconscious mind, start doing work with that other 80% of your brain, that you're just sleeping on.
mm,
And that's where the rewiring can happen. That's where the change can occur.
mm,
So you don't have to have a psychedelic experience for these things to occur. You can do hypnotherapy. You can do breath work. You can have a psychedelic experience with breath work. You don't need the compound to do it. I mean,
mm,
this right here, this mind,
mm,
everyone's got one. It's the most powerful tool you're going to have. Learning to get it out of your way is a practice. And as you do that, that's where your spirit resides, right? In that
mm,
other part of the subconscious, that 80%, that's your spirit, that's your soul.
mm,
So when your soul gets stronger, it starts to get even with your mind. When it gets up here, when you've worked on your soul to the point that you've worked on your mind, you can choose where you're working. When you can
mm,
choose where you're working, you can choose when you're recovering, you can choose when you're healing, and you can choose when your mind is active. Ibogaine has helped me post death of my husband with my grief, along with ketamine therapy, beautiful medicines for grief therapy. Cried more tears with ketamine than I've ever cried in my life, which has released so much from my body, so much trauma that's come from presumably generations, and at least from my childhood, from my existence here. So I had been able to work through some just really heavy things with this medicine, and I don't require anything to go to sleep anymore. I haven't required a sleep medicine. I required them every day for as long as I could remember, until the night I sat with iboga for the first time.
mhm,
And when I woke up from that journey, or when I came through, you don't really fall asleep. But when I came back from that journey the next day, it's called the gray day. It's just kind of feel gray. So that's why they call it the gray day. And my mind was quiet, and I was so uncomfortable with my mind being quiet.
mm,
I wanted my
mm,
old mind back, because
mm,
um, we will choose the familiar hell
mm,
to the unfamiliar heaven 9 times out of 10. And my
mm,
mind was like, what's going on here? We're supposed to be working. And I was so uncomfortable for probably the first 48 hours of that silence. And now I cherish it. You know, it's where I like I choose to operate when I need to go to bed every night. I've slept every night since that journey.
Mm,
Slept the night a tree dropped on my husband and I watched him die, and my son was in a hospital, and I was sharing a, a couch in a hospital room with my 19-year-old son, and I would wake up to the helicopter flying overhead to land on the roof of the hospital, and I would remember, you know, what I'd endured or what was happening, and just the
mm,
reality in that moment was terrible,
mm,
as you could imagine. And
mm,
I knew that iboga gave me the power to sleep, because I could say to myself, "Oh, there's nothing you can do right now for your body
mm,
but sleep." And I'd close my eyes and go right back to sleep.
mm.
Yeah, I haven't wallowed in sorrow in my bed. I haven't spent the day in bed once since my husband
Wow.
passed. He passed 731 days ago. I haven't taken one face of substance. I haven't plied myself with alcohol. I come from a
Mm,
family of alcoholics. I broke a generational curse of alcoholism with
mm,
psychedelics,
mm, mm,
and um, I love my life.
mm.
So,
Really extraordinary. Like really just, uh, yeah, extraordinary, really. Like to be
mm,
able to be in that space, given what you have dealt with, not just obviously with your husband, but what that creates in what you have to deal with as a mother, but then what you've had to deal with in your own journey pre your husband passing, like for what you've had to deal with to be not like because if we look out in society, right, Angela, the immediate go-to is that dealing with anything, you're going to soothe yourself, well, medicate yourself, let's call it, with drugs, with alcohol, and then we just call it having fun. Let's go out and have a few drinks, and we call it having fun. But the truth is that most of the time, when with obviously there's the occasional casual, yes, but for the most part that is what's occurring, and how we're dealing in society with the way in which we deal with a whole lot of different stuff, whether it's as extreme as your situation or even the day-to-day life, right? So for you to be in this place really, really is remarkable. And it's not surprising that you would, with 343, go to the range of modalities that you have.
yeah, so my rule with the foundation, with the fund, is that I'm not sending anyone through anything that you're not going through a forest I haven't walked. So
Mm,
I do the protocols. I sit with practitioners. I see what the providers are doing on their end, and then I fill holes with the integration, because providers, everybody always complains about that providers, psychedelic providers, don't give enough integration, but it's just this thing that's a choice. Integration is a choice,
mm,
and what I mean by that is working on yourself, giving yourself that time to meditate every day, giving yourself that time to do breath work, to breathe. I mean, everybody right now, we're sitting on this podcast right now, if everybody just took a minute and they just breathed in right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, held it at the top for 4, and then just sighed it out. Just, it feels so good to get that first sigh from that. And that's something that you can access, that regulates your central nervous system, that people don't realize that they've been given with this human body. They were given this breath.
mm,
So if somebody can just sit in their car, a first responder, like after they get out of work, and they just make it a little bit of a practice that they do this little 4 count breath work, box breathing,
mm,
um, they can actually regulate their central nervous system instead of, maybe needing to grab a Xanax or something. And it's crazy too how many uh, first responders are out there in these high stress situations, and they don't have their shit together.
mm,
Like, these people shouldn't have guns,
mm,
period.
mm,
Like,
mm,
wow,
mm,
this guy's
mm.
got a gun. And
Yeah,
he like, I don't want this guy coming to my hostage negotiation. I'm gonna tell you that right now. But
yeah, yeah.
I want them coming after I take them through my program. because they are healed and to a point where they can have a gun. I deal with first responders all the time that are on the job and they're about to eat a bullet. And when they're done, their life is saved. So, and they're back. They're back. Period. They're
Look,
back.
you've brought me to a very beautiful place. Firstly, what I do want to acknowledge is the thing that's a standout for me in this entire conversation is allowing yourself. Well, I think you brought it up when you said to your husband, "Trust me, trust me." And I think what strikes me out of all of this is to learn to trust yourself with the decisions that you make, rather than give over to the advice just because it seems to be the right person in the right suit. And I'm talking in the medical industry, right? We go to a GP and then we give over to the advice because they're the so-called experts. And I'm not, and yes, you're right, there's good and there's bad and this, but you don't know that. And so overall, Angela, I think one of the the common key takeaway out of everything you've shared and what strikes me is start learning more and do whatever you need to do to trust yourself. Trust that your body will give you the answers to what you need to do and what is right for you, and do it whilst managing the opinions that you're going to get from the external world, because you've got to trust yourself. So that's the first thing I want to acknowledge very powerfully about your courage in sharing your entire experience. So thank you so much for doing that. And honest to goodness, I think I could talk 24 hours with you. But I loved what I'm really grateful for about where we've come to, which is the one question I also did want to ask you about, is you started to then share about what it is like when a first responder does go through the program with you and what's available. And I know that anyone like yourself who's on a mission and has a real purpose to make a real difference, is that what you have your attention on is the desired successful future outcome for those people. So I wanted to ask you, what does that look like for you and for the people in the community of people that you're out to serve?
So what that looks like is you have to want to help yourself. So we'll get some curiosity. People will come through and they'll fill out a grant application, and I'll do an intake process with them, myself or somebody else with my organization, and I'm trying to determine if this person wants to heal. And wanting to heal is we provide the grant recipient not just with grant access money to access the psychedelic healing. We provide them with pre and post integrative care. And what that care is breathwork sessions prior to the psychedelic journey, depending on what psychedelic they are on or they are seeking. And if they are detoxing off of any substances, that's what's determined what breathwork modality will be used. If someone's detoxing off of substances, yoga nidra is then given to that person, where they just, if anyone doesn't know what yoga nidra is, you just lay there and pretty much just tune into each part of your body, kind of in a meditative state, just laying there, do a body scan head to toe. And then the idea is that your body is rested and ready for a sleep state when you're at the end of yoga nidra. So they're either given breathwork or yoga nidra by one of our breathwork practitioners. They're required to do a call. We do integration calls on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern. They're required to attend at least one of those prior to their journey. And that's just so that they can listen to other people who have been through the program and they can see the other side of this. They can ask any questions during that. And it kind of starts their peer support, because first responders are really big on peer support, and our organization is big on peer support too. So then they're also given a coach, and they are required to do 2 coaching sessions pre-journey and 2 coaching sessions post-journey. If they have a longer wait, because a lot of times psychedelic providers are full, and these medicines are hard to access and they're expensive. Or the first responder might need time off work and whatnot. And then if there's a longer window, they're going to get more breath work and they're going to get more coaching sessions. They also get a manual from us, psychedelic integration manual, where they can start talking about. You were talking earlier about the things kind of that people do, that the alcohol, the pills, like all of the things that they kind of use. Those are tools. I tell people, don't dog alcohol, man. I wouldn't be alive if it wasn't for alcohol. And to be honest with you, cocaine too. So I always say, don't shame yourself in whatever tool got you here. For me, it was like cocaine, Adderall, alcohol. These things numbed me enough to get myself through to where I was ready to heal. So don't shame yourself for numbing agents. Find new tools. Put those away. You don't need those tools anymore. We want to build a new toolbox. So the new tools are those things that we talked about earlier, the breath work, the stuff in the manual, going for a walk outside, and that can grounding yourself, taking your shoes off, putting your feet in grass. New York City is where I spend a lot of my time, and it's hard to find grass. But I mean, what a walk through Central Park can do for your central nervous system. It's a beautiful thing. So there are these places if people are searching, and we provide them with the coaching. They go through then with the we'll talk about Ambio. You had Trevor and Jonathan on here. I love Ambio's program. It's one of the most well-oiled machines in the world of psychedelics as far as provider care goes. And they do a great job with integration on the limited scale that they can. They are only having these people for 5 days. So we're setting them up for the rest of their life. And when they go through Ambio's program, they're required to do 2 sessions pre and post. And we fly down with groups of 5 down to San Diego, California. These people are seeking ibogaine and 5-MeO-DMT in this example that I'm telling you about. And we fly down with them. I do a dinner the night before, a group welcome dinner, and everybody just meets. And then that's when the community starts. This is your group. This is your tribe. You're going to journey with these people. And that community begins there. The sharing begins there. We invite wives to come, or significant others, to that dinner. Sometimes coaches will be there at that dinner. Various people could be at that dinner just to help support this group. Then the next day, we all go across the border together to Tijuana, Mexico. They go through an intake process there. Other group activities, detox stuff, just things, hydration IVs, things to prepare your body for the journey. And then everybody's cleared medically by a doctor prior to getting the medicine. And then the group's just integrated during the whole time while they're there. They're given beautiful food. They're cared for at the highest level of care. All their laundry is done. They can get anything they want at any time they want for their healing journey. And it's just, it does a lot. Then the aftercare, then everybody's got to go back to the real world. You do this ibogaine and you do this 5-MeO-DMT, and then you wipe your windshield clean. Trevor Miller from Ambio always uses that analogy a lot, that ibogaine wipes the windshield clean. But you're going to start driving down the road again. And, wouldn't we all love to just get one car wash, right?
Yeah.
That's not how. So you have to then use these other tools, because you're not, you can't go for psychedelic journeys, all the time. They're expensive, number one, and they're just taxing on your body and whatnot. So you've got to find a way to exist outside of that. And that's where the tools come in. So we give you a coach post journey for up to 1 year, and you can have 2 sessions per month for a year with a psychedelic integration coach within our program. And we do retreats with organizations just to bring the first responders together that have already gone through, where we do contrast therapy at the retreat. So cold plunge and sauna with breath work, and then eat really good food and just kind of like build that community. And then our website provides breath work once a week and integration calls, and it's constantly building. I mean, we're a baby organization. You know, I tell people all the time, I mean, I've already done all of what we've sent over 70, I think over 75 people through for grants, and I haven't even gotten started. So
Yeah, sounds like it. Well, we will make sure that, in fact, why don't you just give a shout out before we do mention that all the details for how people can find out about you, we will definitely be putting in the show notes. But what is the best place for people to go to be able to learn more about what you're doing and connect?
So the best place to go is going to be the Casey Skudin 343 fund dot, or I'm sorry, the 343fund.org. And there's links for donations, there's links for grant applications, there's links for information. And we are also on social media. You can find us there, the 343 Fund, on social media, and you could DM me directly. I'll happy to answer anybody's call. I always make myself accessible in this organization, and I'm happy to help any first responder. We also offer spousal grants to first responders because we realize that their collateral damage a lot of the time of their first responders' actions during prior to their healing journey. So we don't want to leave them hanging.
Yeah,
Everybody gets my arm to try to pull them out. So
leave nobody behind. It's wonderful.
yeah.
Look, Angela, thank you so much, really, for joining me today and really sharing so much of what you have about your experience. And like I said to you, honestly, I could see myself sitting here for another 24 hours talking with you because I still have, it's almost like the more questions I asked you, the more questions I've got at it. I'm like, oh my God. Oh, we didn't even get into who were you before all this happened? And what's, like there's so much. So I really do want to say thank you so much. We are going to put all the links to all the different ways for people to be able to follow you, support you, and the organisation, and also to reach out for any particular option, especially for donations, and reaching out to learn more about how you can start contributing to healing yourself and immediately the people around you, because that's often where it starts. So thanks again very much, Angela.
Amen. Amen. That's where it starts. So I appreciate your time so much. Thanks for having me on. And I'll come back anytime to talk about all your other questions. So
Great. I look forward to that one.